1, and I started the game. Okay, so we do add a little bit of time on top of that 60 minutes just to make sure that, you know, both teams have enough time to respawn. That's the only reason why you saw that extra amount of time there. So you can already see that red team got a major head start by just going ahead and typing in all those selectors. So they already have the HTML and body tag open, and they got that nav ID targeted right off the bat. They're declaring font size 0 on that, which is pretty interesting. That tells me that they're using display inline block, and font size 0 is a way to actually remove that white space that's added in your HTML. So, for example, if you're ever trying to make a grid system where your left grid is 50% and your right grid is 50% in width, then you would actually have to get rid of the font size in order for those to take up 100% exactly because of that extra space that's been added. Okay, so it looks like red team also added their font from they imported their font from Google. Open Sans, great choice, popular font there. On the blue team, we are targeting that menu bar, so that's pretty interesting, you know, going more in depth on the content, whereas red team started from more of a started from the top of the hierarchy, you know, like they started with the body, HTML body. We'll see where this goes. Okay, so also another cool thing is we're gonna give a little bit of time for the sites to develop. Thanks everybody for the follow. Anything else? Thank you for the follow. We're gonna give them a little more time to develop the website, and then I'm actually going to switch the scene for you guys and display what the website looks like live. I almost said Harley Quinn. Harley Quinn, thanks you for the follow. I think I said that right. Probably not. If we get too many followers, I'm gonna have to stop reading the names. All right, so Noob 2 Ninjas needs to catch up here. He might be in another tab deciding, you know, he might be actually looking on the website right now and, you know, seeing what he changed. If you guys want to see the website live, you can always type watch red or watch blue in the chat right now, and the bot will actually spit out a URL for you, and you can follow along with us as you watch the show and see what they're building live. Okay, so on the red team, they are adding a bigger font weight onto that welcome slogan, which makes sense because on the welcome slogan, which is generally where your hero goes, and in this case that is the case. So if you look here, I'm going to highlight it for you. This is what he's targeting right there, the welcome slogan. And you want that to be nice and bold, especially if it's in the hero. Tiptoeing in my Jordans. Yeah, I switched it. It was actually, for some reason, hard for me to focus with that song on. Okay, so blue team, Noob 2 Ninjas, is working on that navigation bar. Let's go ahead and switch the scenes. Let's see what blue team's website looks like. I'm gonna go ahead and refresh. So, you know, not much at the moment, but just so you guys know, I mean, this is what it looks like. This is what he's working on right now. That's the background color that we've seen. There are currently no you know, resets on the website. That's why we get these extra white space around at the top right here. But actually, It kind of looks nice in this case not to reset that, to be honest, because of, you know, the overlay, but actually he probably might want to reset that. It's up to him in the end. Let's take a look over here at the red team now. So red team, they're looking a bit similar. Their navigation bar is a bit darker in color. I think it's quite interesting how the red team isn't representing their red colors. You know, I mean, they are the red team after all. Let's go back to the actual code and resume, you know, seeing what their progress is. Alright, so we are adding multiple styles. It looks like he on the red team, he left the font family blank right here, so he might be doing something with that later. That, or he's resetting it. We'll see what he does there. On the blue team, we do have some resets on the nav itself. I think it might even just be better if you open up a all selector and you know, remove padding and margin on everything. Resets are great for you know, being able to have more control over your CSS, not having to override everything all the time on, you know, specific scenarios. Generally, resets are there so that you can, you know, add exactly the right amount of padding you need without any extra stuff being added that you didn't personally add yourself. For those of you guys who are just now tuning in, both teams here, it is a 1v1. Both teams are just duking it out right now. Both teams have been provided HTML content, and they're just styling it with CSS. That's all it is. The theme of it is DevWars. There are no objectives for this game. It's just simply which site looks better. In order to earn dev bits, you just chill in the chat. You know, just by watching the stream, you are earning dev bits. And make sure you create an account on DevWars.tv to get to connect your Twitch to your account in order to receive your dev bits. Alright, so new two ninjas on the blue team. He is working on that menu bar. He gave it some padding there, and what that's going to do is that's going to make it a bit bigger, you know, in size. Okay, so also down here, he did add his resets as well. So you can see the margin 0 pixels and padding 0 pixels. So that's going to remove all the margin and padding that the browser adds by default. That is good. There is a crap ton of selections and, well, it's mostly selections, to be honest, on the red team. If we were to be perfectly honest here, I would say that blue team is, you know, I'm gonna switch this up. It's too intense for me. It's way too intense. Okay. But if we were to be perfectly honest here, I'd say blue and red are about even as far as progress goes. The only thing that red team has ahead of blue team is that they have way more selectors available. This is just this is good what red team is doing, because what this is allowing him to do is he's kind of gathering his thoughts, you know, by and I love the organization that's going on over here on the red team. They're organizing their CSS selectors in such a way where, you know, at the top, these selectors are, you know, where your HTML content is, like, on the hierarchy. So, you know, whereas on the blue team, the body is kind of chucked at the bottom there. Generally, you would see body at the top of your CSS document, but it is also important to note the pressure of the time during this game. It's very intense. Like, 60 minutes sounds like a lot to you viewers, but when you're actually playing the game, I wouldn't be surprised if these guys who are playing right now are shocked that 10 minutes already went by. So I just saw someone in the chat ask, what are the objectives? There are no objectives in this game right here, but in the next game, right after this, it is going to be a 3v3, and we are going to have 5 objectives in that game. In this game, it is just a 1v1, and there are no objectives. It's mostly about design in this case. Oh man, it's a Dev Ninja. Thanks for the follow. Alright, let's take a look at what the blue website looks like. So, it's looking good. We did get rid of the spacing. That was due to the reset on that body selector. That's great. I really gotta build a playlist. But yeah, so, I mean, most of this is still unstyled, but, I mean, we're only 10 minutes into the game, so not gonna blame him. He's doing great. It does look like this isn't perfectly centered at the moment. Let's take a look at the red team now. Okay, red team is looking good. They did change the background color to red now, so they are representing their team colors. That is what's up. It looks like, I mean, it looks great because, you know, the font was added. The Open Sans font was added immediately as soon as we started the game. Designer made sure that he did add that, you know, the font family. And font is important in a website, guys. Like, I don't know the exact statistics, but I know that it's surprising amount. I think it was something like ridiculous, like 80 or 90% of a website is text. It's blows my mind. It blows my mind. Let's get back to the code. Alright, so here's what I'm going to do with as far as the HTML goes. So I'm going to have the top HTML on the blue team display like up there. Actually like right there-ish. And then on the red teams I'm going to do this. That way you guys can kind of see more. And also at any time you guys can always type in watch code into the chat or go to code.devwars.tv and you'd be able to look at the code for the websites. All this code that I'm displaying here on the show, you'd be able to see on your own browser, as well as the website. So both teams hard at work over here. Now, when you're presented with HTML that you are not familiar with, a lot of time has to be spent actually analyzing the code and making sure that you understand the overall structure of the HTML. You know, because keep in mind that both teams did not create the HTML. I'm sure they would have wrote it differently. I'm sure they would have even named it differently. So, you know, time has to be spent reading the actual HTML code and understanding it, especially with that time pressure. But I really like Red Team's approach in, you know, writing their selectors and making sure they have that open, so it's almost like a mental note. It's almost like he's taking notes in his CSS, and he's like, right, I got to go back and add those styles. So this is good. He's got his overall structure. There's a lot of code in the red team. Now, blue team has, I would say, the same amount of properties declared, or if not more. I don't know. I think it's kind of interesting how red team has all their styles on one line. I personally wouldn't be able to do that. That's pretty intense for me, but you see how blue team has each of their properties neatly displayed on their own row. It's just more readable, but I don't know how designer does it. If that's his workflow, you know, you can't really say much about that. I have to scroll over to the right in order to show you guys the rest of the code here. I think it's time to check out the blue and red team's website. Let's take a look back at, actually, sorry, red. So, yeah, red team. More progress is being made. It looks like he gave a grayish color, you know, to all the text. It is a bit light. We'll see what he does with it. I mean, it's still work in progress. They still have plenty of time. 44 minutes, actually almost nearly 45 minutes. So they have a lot of time here. Let's take a look at the blue team now. Yeah, blue team. It does look like they got their header perfectly centered now. Last time it wasn't perfectly centered. Added this background color on the hero. What he might end up doing, and what we might see later, is have this hero tuck up and fill up this white space here that's, you know, between that. He might want it there. You know, I'm not the designer for blue team. But yeah, I mean, in my opinion, I think the background color on the header is a bit too light. It makes, you know, only because we are using a white text on that header, so it could be a little bit darker. We'll see what he does with it. Another thing, oh, check that out. I just refreshed the website, and he did bring that hero up to that header, so that looks really good. Let's get back over to the code. So, blue team, right off the bat, I noticed that Noobs 2 Ninjas did add that Helvetica font, but he didn't import it yet. So I'm sure he'll get to that in a moment here. Helvetica. I know I said that wrong. Okay, over here on the red team, I just noticed that he had a background image. I'm very excited to see what that is. We have one over here on the hero as well. We have a background image URL right there. So we'll take a look at that in a moment. Let's see what else he's done while we are away, looking at their website. Sidebar container, he did give that a 30% width. So what that means is he's working on the grid system essentially. So the HTML content, if you guys read it, it does suggest that there is a 2-column grid. So what red team is doing here is they are adding a 30% on that sidebar and 70% on that content. And he is using display inline blocks, so that's going to form that grid that we were just referring to earlier. Let's see if blue team has got to that. They haven't got to that just yet, but I'm sure Noob 2 Ninjas is getting to it. He is taking his time on the way the website looks. I mean, he's being very specific on these properties, which is great because that is a true designer at work, making sure the website looks exactly the way he wants. So I feel like blue team is taking their time, whereas red team is definitely speeding along and adding details later. Let's see what the blue team's website looks like now. Okay, so looking at this, you can see we do have those buttons over here. Well, actually, they weren't buttons to begin with, but what blue team is doing is he's turning it into buttons, you know, through CSS. So that's pretty neat. He's just adding a background image. I'm sure he's gonna add padding to it. Actually, he has. I just refreshed the website. He has already added padding to it. So you can see that button starting to take place. He did float it to the right, so he's going to have to do some special things in order to make sure those buttons look great. Alright, cool. Let's take a look at the red team now and their website. Wow, I'd have to say red team's website is making huge progress. We already have the content and the sidebar both on a grid. We got the footer down here. You guys can't see the footer. Yeah, it's too low. Here, let me inspect the element, and that should give me enough room to scroll down. Yeah, so that's the footer. I mean, it's not like too crazy, but I mean, it looks great. I don't see the background image that he loaded here. We did see a background image URL being added to that hero, but it's not displaying. It's just the black color, a black color rather. So maybe that'll work later. Let's get back over to the code now. I just got word in the chat that we are at 106 viewers. Thank you everybody for joining. Currently you are watching DevWars. It is a 1v1. You're watching blue team and red team. There's only one person on each team, and they're just coding CSS. They've both been supplied with HTML that we've provided to them, so they haven't made this, and they're both the same. All they're doing is styling it. And it's games like this, Zen Garden, where you're actually able to see the power of CSS, like how much power you have as a designer. So none of these teams are teammates, rather, well, teams. They're not able to change the HTML. So they have to make sure they're educated enough in CSS to know, you know, your workarounds. So like you'd know, you know, how to add elements into the DOM without actually using HTML, for example. For those of you guys also just now tuning in, stick around because after this game we are going to have a big 3v3 game right after this. So stay tuned for that. We do have 5 objectives for that. It's going to be fun. Happy 4th of July, by the way, everybody. I wish I had fireworks to display on the show, but not this year. Probably next 4th of July on 2016. We'll definitely have fireworks for you guys. Let's see what blue team's working on in their CSS. It looks like he added nth child even. That's pretty neat. So what that's gonna do is every other paragraph, essentially, he's wanting to add a background color. So that's gonna add a I think a nice subtle separation between those paragraphs, and I think that's a great choice. So he's being a bit more specific here. He did add that class. He did append that class to that paragraph. So now he's saying he wants, you know, every paragraph with that class. Oh well, now it's okay. He switched it around now on me. So now he's saying he wants every paragraph inside of the content container class, and he does need to add that period in front of that to make it a class. I'm sure he'll get to that in a moment here. What about red team? What are they working on? Man, red team, just all this selectors, man, they're just on top of it. Okay, so right now he is editing that welcome slogan, so he's given it a color of white. He has given it a font, I think he meant font weight there, not font size. That's what it looks like to me, and he is changing that right now. Oh, okay, he retyped it. I don't know what he's doing there, but he's definitely going to do something for sure. I think it's time to check out the websites, just see where they're at. So on the blue team, more progress is being made, of course, as we'd expect. We do have those buttons nicely styled. There is nothing, there are no hover effects or anything like that at the moment. He still has a lot to style. I don't see the paragraph. Oh, and I spoke too soon there. So that is the selector we were seeing before, and I'm actually looking at the code at the same time on my other monitor, so I'm able to tell you right now he did get rid of the paragraph selector, and instead he just said nth child even on all the content containers. So that's why this is blue. Cool, cool. All right, let's take a look at the red team, see how much more progress they've made. So I think designer is doing some works in here. It doesn't look too much different since I last saw. However, I do notice that the background image on this hero is, it looks like it has a gradient to it. I'm gonna zoom in a little bit. Oh, okay. I see. There's a mountain there. It is an image. What he's gonna have to do is add like a property to make sure that that image is like this a cover, you know, so that way you can see more of the image. But yeah, it's looking great. Oh, I refreshed the website and it looks like a completely different image. Yeah, he switched the image on us. That's cool. That's cool. We'll see what he does there. Alright, back to the code. Also, I do want to remind you guys, if you are on your computer or laptop, well, a laptop is a computer. I'm so silly. What's wrong with me? Both links have been posted in the chat for your convenience by our moderators. Just go ahead and click those links. You can always get those links to output by typing watch red or watch blue command into the chat, and that will allow you to see the blue website and the red website on your own browser, and you could refresh it as many times as you want, and you know, and not just see it when I display it here on the stream. Let's see what blue team is working on right now. A lot more CSS has been added for sure. A lot more. So we are 33, about half an hour into the game. I lied to you. No, it is half an hour, yeah. I'm so silly. So halfway in, little less than halfway, but let's find his selector. There it is. You know, I can't quite tell what that selector is there. I wonder what that is. I'm gonna actually copy what I selected there into here. Oh, okay, it's a paragraph. So he's targeting all the paragraphs right there. And again, I think it's interesting to see the way blue team structures his selectors. You know, there is no hierarchy organization on his end, whereas if you look on the red team, all the general like selectors as far as HTML tags go are up at the top. You got your imports up at the top. And then as far as selectors for the HTML, like IDs and classes, they are organized in such a way where it displays on the HTML. So it reflects, you know, it reflects from HTML to the CSS. But, you know, it's also very important to consider that they are probably nervous. You know, it's an intense game. I mean, there's a lot of people watching right now. I've had people tell me who have been on the show that their hands were shaking as they were coding. That's how nerve-wracking it was, believe it or not. And you know, I have played DevWars once, so I do know that the time is very brief. It is but a vapor. Yes, stick around after this game. Bo mentioned it in the chat. We are going to have another game right after this, so definitely stick around. Thank you for all our new viewers who are just now tuning in. If you are enjoying DevWars, let us know in the chat. Also, let us know if you are a new viewer. I'm glad you are not missing DevWars Crashman. Just a friendly reminder, everybody who is watching currently right now on DevWars, you are earning dev bits just by watching. Our bot is spitting out dev bits to you every so often. So definitely stay in the channel to earn those points. Alright, on the red team, his selector is right next to that sidebar, so we'll see what he does with that. What about the blue team? What is he working on at the moment? Let me scroll around here. I don't see his selector anywhere. Oh, his selector looks like he's in the HTML. Now, he is more than welcome to view the HTML, of course, and look around there. Okay, yeah, so he's just simply highlighting this right there. He's highlighting it. He's probably going to copy that and paste this so that he doesn't have to type it in. Okay, there's a selector. So he's currently working on that content container. Oh, and he switched it up on me. Now he's working on that content ID. Okay, so he's using the float method. So blue team is using float for their grid, whereas red team is using display inline block. So two different methods here. The only thing that blue team has to consider using their, using floats is they have to make sure they clear. I say they as in there are more than one players. But yeah, so he is going with 75% on that content as opposed to 70. There's no rules for that. But yeah, so let's take a look at the website right now. I did notice a question in the chat. Who are the judges? The judges are you, the viewers. So right after the game, you guys are going to be voting on which team has the best design. So this is the blue team's website. We do have the content and the sidebar. This is the content ID right there. That's floated, as well as that sidebar. He is probably going to want to add some space, between these. I'm sure he's working on that right now. So the last thing I noticed here that's like majorly unstyled is that the footer, and you guys can see the footer. Let me open this up so I can scroll down there. The footer is definitely unstyled. We have to get rid of those bullet points, and we have to probably make those display inline block or float left if that's what he wants to do. Now, no rush. I mean, there's 26 minutes left on the clock, so there is definitely time here. But blue team is taking his time, making sure he has every detail, exactly the way he wants, which is awesome. Now let's take a look at the red team. I'm going to refresh. This is what it used to look like. Wow. You guys saw right off the bat how much progress has been made. I do think the text on the hero is a bit too light. What he can do is either find a darker image, or he could even find a way to use pseudo elements to add an overlay on top of the no, he doesn't even need to use pseudo element. He can actually use a background color to go on top of the image to darken it through CSS if he wanted to use the same image. He could even take it into Photoshop if he has the time and actually darken it. It's his choice. So yeah, so next week, guys, I do notice some people pointing out the flaws in our betting system. We're going to work that out. Currently, enjoy the betting system while it lasts. next week we're going to make it so that if you bet, there are going to be different conditions. That's next week on DevWars. Every week on DevWars we do have improvements, and that's because we take all your feedback into consideration, just like we did for last week on this stream. But yeah, I do like those. I do like the sidebar. I have to say, it looks very sexy. I feel like that's the best word to use in this case here. I'm gonna open that inspect element just so that we can see the rest of the site here. But yeah, take a look at that. We didn't. Oh, take a look. There are hover effects on these buttons. Is there any hover effects on these? No, but that is fine. I'm sure he could add those details later. Nice, nice, nice. All right, let's look at Blue's website one more time before we go back to the code. Okay, so on Blue's website, I mean, not much has changed since. Let's actually just immediately hop back into the code and see what Blue Team is working on right now. I'm kind of curious. Where is his selector? Oh wow, he's working on media queries. So what he did here was he made it so that if your screen is less than 400 pixels, then what's going to happen is your content is going to be 100% width as opposed to 75% as we saw declared up here. And that's typical for a resolution of that size. You do want to make sure that your entire website is in one column and not more than that because yeah, you want to utilize all of the screen's display here. Now what he could probably do here is even add commas to the to this and, you know, append other selectors there that can totally take advantage of that with 100%. And he definitely doesn't even need to apply that important bit there because it is CSS. I mean, it is reading it from top down, so he definitely does not need that important there. It is looking great, guys. So right now, Blue Team is working on the button. I just saw we see him opening that. He is adding float to it. Cool. Let's see what Red Team is working on. All right, his selector is over here where the logo is. He is working on the logo. I'm wondering what he's going to do with it. Take a look at that. He is using a pseudo element. He is taking advantage of his knowledge with CSS to add elements to the DOM. That's what he's doing right there. You know, generally adding text like Red Team rocks would be as simple as going into the HTML and just writing that out. But since he's not able to edit the HTML, this is one of those CSS tricks where you can actually, you know, use that before or after pseudo to get the element text that you want. So that's pretty cool that he's utilizing that. Right now he's adding properties to the logo. Man, this is the first time I've seen someone actually code in their CSS on one line for each selector. I don't know how he does it. Let me know right now in the chat, guys, if you code this way too. The way Red Team is coding all their properties on one line. I mean, typically we see, you know, CSS coders code in the way the Blue Team's doing it, you know, just each property on their own line. I think it's much more readable. But let us know in the chat if you would do it. Or if you do it. So Yeah. Let's see what blue team's working on. Trying to find a selector. There it is. So he's working on that content container, the even property right there, that selector. So we are getting a lot of votes on how they would, well, not votes rather, but a lot of people are saying in the chat right now that they would not code the way that red team is coding. But I mean, it's working surprisingly well. I wonder how many lines this would be if he broke it all down here. But I do have to say, I really admire how clean his code looks. I mean, look at that. It looks very clean. Everything is super organized. Like, oh my gosh, it is. Wow. Yeah, I don't even know, guys. 19 minutes left on the clock. What can these teams accomplish in that time? So blue team working on the media queries, adding more styles. Just want to remind you guys, definitely take advantage of our codes that we have, our commands rather, for DevWars on this stream. You just type in watch code, watch red, or watch blue. There are other commands as well, and in order to type in a command, you always have to type all your commands with an exclamation point in front of it. So that is the syntax for a command. Just I think like a cool little thing to know. Noob to Ninjas, who is on the blue team, he is one of the moderators over at Watch People Code. I'm sure a lot of you guys are aware of that subreddit on Reddit. And yeah, I mean, it's really cool to have him here on the show. He also runs the podcast on Watch People Code. I think he's doing a fantastic job. Alright, let's see what blue team's working on now. It looks like this is what he's working on. He's adding text-align center on this is pretty interesting. He's adding text-align center on the H2 tag and the H3 tag, but both heading tags are inside of the sidebar container. So essentially what he could do is, this is just, I want to educate you guys as well. What he could essentially do is throw this text-align center up here in this selector right here, and it would accomplish the same thing without, you know, we'll see what he does there. He might have a point, but as far as what I see there. Okay, so quite a bit of code there. Let's see. Man, red teams has a lot of code. I wonder how many lines of code they actually have. We actually have two different fonts on the red team. We have Merryweather and Open Sans. So we did see Open Sans get imported into the game like right off the bat, but now he has a new font. I actually never heard of Merryweather. Let's see what that looks like. I think it's time that we check out the websites and see what progress they have made. Alright, so let's take a look at blue team. So this is the updated site right here. It doesn't look like he added spacing between the content here, but rather he added padding to it. So that gives it that space there that we see. Very, very interesting look on the on this. Let me throw up the inspect element just so that we could bring that up. But yeah, I mean, this is a unique look. I think blue team is going to need to definitely utilize, you know, unique styles like this in order to get an advantage during the voting phase. I'm going to refresh one more time, see if there's anything different. Nope. All right, let's take a look at red team now. Take a look at that. You see this where this red team rocks right there. That is a pseudo element. That is a pseudo element. So that wasn't actually in the DOM until he added it in the CSS. We do notice that there is a bit of an overlap issue right here with the hero. I think that has to do with the pseudo element being added because it looks like just the exact amount of space. The height of the pseudo element looks like if we just got rid of this pseudo element entirely, that it would look normal again. So I'm sure he would, you know, work on that. So just so you guys know, there is 13 minutes left on the clock. If my moderators can just give a friendly reminder to both blue and red that, you know, of the time so that they are aware. Both teams also do have to add their media queries to get points on the functionality. I know that blue team has a bit of a head start on that. So I would say red team has time. Let me go ahead and refresh red team's website. They still haven't fixed that yet. Let me go ahead and inspect the element and see if I actually remove that pseudo. Let's see what happens. Oh, okay. I see. Oh, alright, so that entire... So where the black area is, that was actually the logo itself, but he just used the pseudo element to add the text, rather. But yeah, so, I mean, it's looking good. Red team does have some stuff to sort out to get the website looking flawless. But 12 minutes is a lot of time, I think, like, with the amount of progress that we see done here already. I do want to highlight that he did take the time to add little details like transitioning on hovers. Like, you know, it doesn't turn red immediately when you hover over it, like on, you know, or when you hover over these things. There is that very slight transition to give it a smooth look. And we did even add the hover effects on the navigation there, so brilliant. That looks great. Let's get back over to the code now. Syntag, you should play programming to attract a larger audience. That is a great point. We'll probably have to do that during break. So right after this game, I'll definitely do that. Just right now, I'm not able to at the moment. Alright, so let us see what blue team is working on. Right there, so he is working on the text color, it looks like, in that content container. The content container, as we last saw, did have a very unique look to it. You know, it was kind of, I don't even know how to explain, but, you know, it was definitely unique. So I'm sure he wants to finalize that. I'm not seeing a huge variety of fonts on the blue team. I'm not sure if that is a concern or anything that Noob 2 Ninjas is going to consider during the game. We'll see here as the game progresses. 10 minutes left on the clock. I think still a lot of time. Alright, let's see what our red team is working on. Scroll around here. right there, we are targeting that welcome slogan right there. And so he's got his selector right there. We don't see anything being added. He could either be looking at his HTML right now, or he could be looking at his actual website and determining what he wants to do next. We did see a whole bunch of highlighting over there, so he did highlight that you know, media query. He's probably just going to change some of the declarations there. Okay. So we have a minimum width declaration. Not very much time left on the internet. Wow, guys, I have to show you guys the red website right now. I think that's a gorgeous solution to the problem that we saw earlier where the, you know, where that hero was overlapping that sidebar. I think that's very creative. Let's take a look at the blue team now and see what has changed. So we don't have any hover effects yet. Hopefully Noob 2 Ninjas adds that. It does look a bit different. He is working on the media queries last we saw, so you know, not much is going to change on the actual site. We won't take a look at what the mobile view looks like yet. That'll have to wait till after the game is over. But right there, we see a property getting deleted by Noob 2 Ninjas right there. What about Red Team? What's he working on? There is a lot of stuff over here. How many viewers are we at right now? Can one of my moderators let me know? Or anyone in the chat, of course. Flip 4 Bytes, it is great to see you, man. And the bets are closed, bro. You silly man, you. If you guys want to see how many dev bits you have, go ahead and type !dev bits in the chat, and the bot will let you know how many dev bits you have currently. You are earning dev bits just by simply watching DevWars, so great to know here. Okay, we have 125 viewers. Wow, that is a lot. 6 minutes, well, nearly 7 minutes. Can I buy a car with my dev bits? Absolutely. On the blue team, it looks like he's planning out his next move. Red team is banging out those media queries last minute here. A lot of commas being added, which is good because you don't want to add multiple selectors, well, separate selectors, and give it, you know, the same properties that, you know, you don't want to repeat yourself in programming ever. Does it look like I'm wearing a robe? You guys are funny, man. I was like, what is this whole robe thing about? Oh my gosh. It's a hoodie, man. What the heck? It's a freaking hoodie, bro. Oh gosh. You guys. So we do have some specificity right there. Nth child 4 on that sidebar. So very specific. We're adding border radius as well to it. Let's actually look at the blue team's website and see what he's doing there. So that is what he's working on. That is what the Nth Child 4 was all about. He's targeting the fourth element in the, well, the fourth sidebar element in the sidebar, which is this. So he's wanting to differentiate that one from the rest. Just so you guys know, you could accomplish the same thing by using a pseudo such as last of type or even last child. But I mean, there's just so many different ways to approach things. I'm gonna switch the song. By the way, I didn't pick the playlist, or the music rather. The playlist is called Twitch Music Library on Spotify, and we use this so that our, you know, our VODs don't get muted. But anyways, yeah, there's so many ways to tackle the, you know, code and stuff like that. I mean, we did see blue team took the float approach, whereas, you know, red team took the display inline block. You are able to Google while you're doing this. That is perfectly fine. And there's also no way of us regulating that, of course. But, I mean, if we're all being perfectly honest here, every web dev Googles, you know, I mean, let's just be real. Let's just be real. Even professionals, it's okay to Google every now and then. 3 minutes left on the clock. Moderators, let both blue and red team know. They gotta really get their stuff banged out right here. Let's look at red team. Let's refresh. I mean, man, their site is coming along. It looks like, I mean, as far as red team's website looks, in my opinion, I think he doesn't really have to worry about the design on desktop. He probably could just put all his time and energy right now into media queries, especially since we only have 3 minutes left on the clock right now. I'm gonna switch over to the code now. Alright, so instead, okay. I thought he was substituting this selector that we saw earlier. So, right now on the blue team, Noob2Ninjas is working on that sidebar. It doesn't look like he's working on that, on the media queries. He might be fine with that. I didn't want to show the websites in, on the stream yet until the websites are, until the timer's up. So, I don't know how the site looks right now at the moment. But yeah, he's working on the sidebar still. Now, that is a very cool selector he's using right there. A bunch of stuff happening there, actually. I am reading the chat. I'm trying my best to read the chat. There are no objectives in this game, but stick around. I mean, this game's practically over. We are going to open up votes. We're going to go over both websites and stuff like that. And then you guys are going to actually vote and decide which website looks better. So that is cool. And then right after this game, definitely stick around. We are going to have a 3v3. Right now you are watching a 1v1. It's called Zen Garden. That is the name of the game mode. And all Zen Garden is we provide both teams with the same HTML content. They just style it. Whereas 3v3 is almost like a free-for-all. We just provide them with 5 objectives. And they just go ham. 30 seconds left on the clock. 30 seconds left on the clock right now. Not a lot of time at all. I mean, I don't even know what they could possibly be doing in the 30 seconds that they have. I guess I could find out, right? Okay, so we have the selector here. I'd probably, if I was playing right now, I'd probably just panic right now if there was like 20 seconds left on the clock. Well, there's 10. Here we go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Counting ahead. And it's over, guys. It's over. Counting down a bit too fast there. I got excited to end the game, didn't I? Oh man. Oh man. All right, so GG. Let's just applaud both teams for you know, going ham in those 60 minutes. They did a fantastic job, for real. All right. So the documents are locked down. So if they try to make edits right now in the C9, it is not possible. So everything that is here is said and done. At this point, I do recommend everybody who is watching right now, you open blue team and red team in your browsers, because we are going to go over them, and it is best if you guys follow along with me. Alright, let's start with the blue team. So let's refresh. On the blue team, this is the current up-to-date website right here. I'm going to open that inspect element just to, I'm going to open it about right there-ish. Alright, cool. Alright, so the header is right there. There is no hover effects when you hover over these things. I'm going to go through the website, and I'm going to mention every point that every specific point I see here. Okay, and then you know, we have this centered. This is the content over to the left, and the sidebars over to the right. We do have an interesting bit of content right here. You know, that's different. I think that has a different look to it. There is no hover on these buttons, no hover on the footer as well. It looks like Noob2Ninjas did ditch the whole border idea that he had over here before. I did honestly like where he was going with it, but I'm sure that he didn't have enough time to gather his thoughts during the game. I mean, ask anybody who played on DevWars. 60 minutes, or just, you know, it's not a lot of time, and playing on DevWars is extremely stressful, no lie. But anyways, this is the blue team's website. We are going to be voting on design. So keep that in mind as we're reviewing the sites. I'm going to actually open the votes right after we review the red team's website. So we're going to look at red team now. So red team, definitely, I mean, their site looks great. Let's start at the top. We have red team rocks, so definitely, you know, supporting himself and his team. But anyways, this is a navigation. When you hover over it, we do have a hover effect, even with transition. I thought what he did with the sidebar was very interesting. I mean, it's different. Let's be honest here. It's even myself being a front-end designer, I would have never thought to do that. We did see during the show that the sidebar was under the hero, and my basic way of thinking, I was thinking, man, probably what he'd have to do is give that sidebar margin or something to get it to sit below that hero, but I mean, you know, that's creative. We do have the hero over here. It does look a bit light on that background there, but I mean, it's still legible, so it's not that big of a deal. I think the font choices here, there's definitely fonts there. I'm going to different fonts rather. That's the footer. There is even a hover effects there as well as these buttons. But yeah, I mean, so we're gonna open the vote now for design. You guys saw both blue and red. Go ahead and vote by typing blue or red in the chat. Your votes are being registered, by the way. So just vote. I'm going to be shifting back and forth between blue and red. So this is blue. Yeah, just get your votes in, blue or red. So this is the blue team site we're looking at here. Let's take a look at red. You cannot change your vote once you place your vote, guys. Red team site. Blue team site. Keep your votes coming in, guys. We do see someone trying to vote for green. Green team did a great job. I can't lie. 30 seconds left to vote. Make sure you get your votes in right away, and we'll see what the the winner is after this. 20 seconds left to vote. It's the blue team. This is the red team. No, you cannot vote rainbow. Votes are closed, boys and girls. Let's see what the results are. Okay, so we have so 16% of you guys, 9 of you voted for blue, and 83% or 46 of you voted for red. So congratulations, red, for winning the design phase. Now we're going to be voting on functionality. What functionality is in this case, I mean, functionality has different meanings. It's kind of a vague word. But we're gonna start with the yeah, so functionality vote started already. Now, in order for you guys to see functionality, it's pretty much the mobile view. So what does the site look like on mobile? I'm just going to show you guys in the Apple iPhone 4. On the blue team, I don't see anything going on here. What about if we made it smaller than that? And I did refresh. I'm going to refresh again. Okay, so I'm not seeing anything happening. I am refreshing, by the way. So this is the blue teams when you downscale and stuff. And I just want to share with you guys the responsiveness of it. So this is how the site reacts when you resize it. How about the red teams? Let's look at this. Let's refresh. Okay. And let's refresh here. You know, I'm not seeing anything happening major over here either. I mean, there is definitely stuff going on. Click refresh. I mean, I'm hitting F5. Yeah, how strange. Yeah, my simulator, I guess, isn't working, which is kind of ironic. But anyways, what you guys are going to have to do is definitely look at the website in your own browser. Because it is in there. So the links are in the chat right now. Yeah, you need to view it in your own browser, guys. I do recommend you do that. Alright, so the votes are in. 22% voted for blue, or 7. And 77% voted for red, or 24. So that means red team won. Congratulations, red team.